Okay, I'm going to talk now about how we can stretch out our conversations with our child in order to improve their skills in communication with other people. I often like to think of trying to extend a conversation with a child. It's almost like a bit like big game fishing, like marlin fishing, that you basically want to give them a lot of line, a lot of rope or whatever. Let them stretch it out before you start bringing it back in to come to some sort of solution. That you really want them to have an opportunity, and so give them a bit of space. When in the language around this sort of approach is referred to as facilitating, that you're trying to facilitate the conversation to get longer. Now, we can do this by sentences or words or even non-verbal prompts. So sentences like, tell me more, or what did you mean by that, or how are you feeling about that, or what do you think she's thinking when she said that. We can just use words sometimes to extend it. We say, yes, and, or just non-verbal, raising your eyebrows, using your hands, saying, yeah, come on, really, So we're just trying to say, I want you to tell you more to come out of your mouth. Now, why do we want to do this? Well, hopefully, if they're able to talk more, then they're more likely to sort it out themselves. They're more likely to think of the solution or say something that's going to be useful to getting the solution, rather than us just going plonk, here's a solution. Oh, and this is what we tend to do once again when we're time poor. So we rush to the solution. So, okay, just put that down. I've made the decision. We're going. Okay? Or, no, you be quiet. It's her turn. Right? So all of a sudden we're the referee, we're in charge of everything, and they're not. So we're really trying to get them to learn how to think, if you like. And this is a sort of skill. By giving the space, by prompting them to talk more, we're more likely to be able to have that develop. In emotionally complex situations, particularly in older children, we have to think about how we can deliver our message that it might be quite delicate. They're having a bad day, they've just had a big fight with their best friend, something really upsetting has just happened to them. We want to communicate with them. We want to maybe show them that we want to hear what they've got to say, but it's tricky to know how to approach it. Sometimes you can use indirect methods, like sending a text, an email, a social media message, even writing a note. Sometimes it can just be an action, like you might say, well, I'm just going to buy you an ice cream or get your favourite food for dinner, just because I know it's a tough day. I do want to talk to you about it, but let's make it a nice introduction to that as possible, showing that you care, basically, I suppose. But we have to be careful when we are doing those sort of texts or notes and things. Be very careful that we realise that we don't have the context, the emotional context of our body language and our tone of voice there. So you have to be very careful with your words when you're doing that, because sometimes it can be misinterpreted. Now, I've also touched previously on respect, that we of course want to respect our children, respect their opinion. We want to be accepting and be a guide rather than correcting and judging. How can we do this? Well, a couple of little techniques. First of all, when we are angry, we should try and vent slowly, calm things down, take time, maybe even pause or step away if you need to, time out for the parent rather than child, and try to release any tension or anger that we have in our delivery. If you're going to do it, just try and do it as slowly as you possibly can. You can also use a technique that I like to use in consulting, which is where you ask permission. Like, for example, if I could ask a patient, Mrs. Jones, is it okay if we talk about your alcohol, how much you're drinking? Or Fred, I know you probably don't want to hear this, but is it okay if I talk to you about cigarettes, how you're smoking, how that's going? It's a very gentle way of demonstrating to the person who you're talking to that you understand that this is tough for them and awkward. So we can do this with our kids as well. Joanne, can I just talk to you about how things are going at preschool with Angela? Is that okay? It gets them ready, and as I've said, it also gives them the message that you understand that this is tough for them. Of course, we've talked about listening before, and to be really interested in what they've got to say, to really sort of pay attention. One of the best ways of doing this, and one of the ways of really showing you're not maybe that interested, is to interrupt. So we want to not interrupt if we can. Now, once again, doctors are maybe guilty of this, being time-pressured sort of people, that we tend to cut off people too much and we tend to interrupt too much. So even having a gap between the two sentences allows a little bit more emotional comfort to happen. If you think of the Cat Stevens song, Father and Son, where he says, "From the moment I could talk, I was ordered to listen." So that is, I think, a really beautiful way of describing when it's not going so well. So we want to be the opposite of that. We want to have our children involved, and for us to be showing them the respect that we're really paying attention and interested in what they've got to say.